How can a photograph tell three different stories? Let's look at a photograph taken in 1901. What do you see? The caption reads, "An Aboriginal woman backs away from a white man holding a gun on Bentinck Island, Queensland in 1901. This photo, 118 years later, is published in 2019 in the Daily Inquirer in an article by journalist Charis Chang, titled "Crime! Aussie's History. Aboriginal Women Were Preyed On by Any and Every White Man." The article contains statements including, "Maybe it's not so easy to trust authorities that beat, killed and raped them, the shocking sexual violence that Aboriginal women suffered through, and Aboriginal women were preyed on by any and every white man whose whim it was to have a piece of black velvet wherever and whenever they pleased." Without prior knowledge, we would assume the white man in this photo has very sinister intentions. Ms. Chang credits this photograph to North of Capricorn, The Untold Story of Australia's North by Professor Henry Reynolds. Published in 2003, 16 years prior, a major work, densely illustrated and thoroughly researched. Here we find an uncropped version of this same photo showing another Aboriginal woman, also with her child, who looks to be smiling and laughing. The woman in Ms. Chang's version of the photo, we were told, was backing away in fear. Do you still think that is the case? The photo caption reads, "Aborigines, Bentinck Island, 1901. A unique photograph of what may well have been the moment of first contact. The women and children have retreated to the water's edge. The white man extends one hand in friendship but holds a rifle in the other, hidden behind his leg." Professor Reynolds definitively states that the women have retreated. The reader would likely assume in perceived fear from the white man. The reader would likely interpret that holding a rifle and keeping it hidden shows sinister intentions. Is he about to attack the women? Reynolds used this same photo in his book, Dispossession, published 14 years earlier in 1989. We now have another woman and her child, and now the complete photograph. But do we have the complete story? In Dispossession, the caption reads, "There are very few photographs of the early contact with Aborigines. This one is therefore unusually interesting. Taken on Bentinck Island in 1901, it may represent a first meeting at close quarters of white and black. The European extends a hand of friendship but keeps his gun ready for instant use. The women have picked up their children and retreated to the edge of the water. The one closest to the white man looks terrified. The one on the left hides her face in her hands." Now what can the reader then assume? The reader understands there's a white man keeping his gun ready for instant use, and that the women are still fearful, having retreated. We also have one woman described as terrified. But why no mention of the smiling or laughing woman? How does Reynolds know that they have retreated to the water's edge? Is more research necessary? A keen researcher might endeavour to look for the camera roll. This series of photographs were taken in 1901 by an expedition to Bentinck Island led by Dr. Walter Roth, Protector of Aborigines for North Queensland. In his company were Native Police, J.F. Bailey, Director of the Botanic Gardens of Brisbane, and Charles Headley, a zoologist. Due to the Kayardild being known for their intertribal spearings, guns were carried for security reasons. Here we have some other photographs taken at the same time on Bentinck Island, as the photo used and cropped by Miss Chang and Professor Reynolds. Here we see two of Walter Roth's party on the edge of the reef. The Kayardild man holding up his hand on the right is Kolturingati Walter, as identified by his son. This photo shows Kayardild men on the edge of the reef. The central figure is Tarukingati Warringolta, as identified by his son. Here we see a Kayardild man holding a Tijilinganda, or a mariwu, a bifaced stone implement, in his hand. The Aboriginal women look to be voluntarily engaging with their visitors. One of Roth's party, holding his gun in clear view, appears to be playing with a woman's child. The white man in the original photograph is now smoking a cigarette, and all seem to be amicably getting along, including the Aboriginal men, who are surely the husbands of the women. The photos documented the first contact with the Kayardild due to the effects of a severe drought, intertribal fighting, disease and malnutrition, the combination of which threatened to wipe out the population. By the 1940s, a majority of the Kayardild left their traditional home voluntarily. In 1948, an immense tidal wave forced the evacuation of the last of the Kayardild remaining on Bentinck Island to nearby Mornington Island, where they have remained ever since. So why, 118 years later, after the first contact, is there a journalist using a photo of this unique event to justify and help articulate her article? Aboriginal women were preyed on by any and every white man. Chang and Reynolds have cropped their photograph to convey a particular negative narrative about white men, establishing in the mind of the reader that perhaps all encounters were aggressive and motivated by sinister intentions. This is an example of misusing a photo to rewrite history, but by applying critical thinking and some dedicated research, a different story of the 2019 photo has emerged. In this case, a positive one.
The video you just watched is for a new education platform called True Arrow Academy of Critical Thinking, or TACT for short. TACT will evolve into many hundreds of animations and filmed lessons written, run and influenced by an exceptional mix of academic heavyweights teaching against the grain, with lessons encouraging open discussion, critical thinking and debate. TACT's duty of care is to arm and shield youth against modern, subversive, mainstream education. Supporters will be the lifeblood of TACT. If you would like to support this project, let's build this together at givesendgo.com/TACT. Thank you so much.